Want a new crop to grow this year? Try peanuts. They're virtually pest and disease free, and they're super fun to watch how they develop. I love growing peanuts, and all the years I've grown them, I've never had any problems, but I do have several tips to help you get higher yields. Peanuts will need a warm growing season for at least 120 days that are frost free, and some varieties are up to 150 days. It'll all just depend on the variety that you pick. They also love full sun, so give them a spot that has at least 8 to 12 hours of full sun a day. And that's one of the reasons why I really like growing them here in the desert. It's really hot, it's really sunny, and they just thrive here in that full sun. Peanuts aren't actually nuts at all. They're in the legume family, and they're closely related to the peas and the beans. They also go by names of ground nuts, and one of my favorites that I'm fond of is monkey nuts. Because peanuts are a legume family, at the end of the season after you've harvested, work those plants back into the soil, and that'll add nitrogen to your soil. Because peanuts grow underground, they're a root crop, you'll want to have really loose soil for this. And so I usually just test my soil to see how loose it is by just sticking a digging fork in there. And if it goes in really nice and easy, I don't worry about turning my soil. And if it seems to be a little tight, then I'll turn that soil and work it a little bit. And then add plenty of well-rotted compost to that soil, because they also like the soil to be nice and rich. By working that soil and adding a little bit of compost will also help with good drainage, which is another thing that's really good for growing peanuts. Peanuts like slightly acidic soil, so you don't want to add lime to your soil. If your soil is already alkali, then you can add some acid mixed fertilizer or some cottonseed meal. This will bring up your fertility, and it will also help lower the pH. If you already have acidic soil, then just add some all-purpose fertilizer when you're adding your compost. You can purchase peanuts from your grocery store. Just make sure that they're organic and raw. But you never know what variety that you're getting, and the germination rate is usually fairly low. I prefer to purchase my peanut seeds from a reputable seed company, and I really like the Tennessee Red. It does really good for my area, and there's anywhere from 2 to 5 little peanuts in each one of these shells. Generally they come still in the shells when you buy them in seed packets. This is just so that they store a little bit better, and you'll want to leave them in these shells until the day that you plant. When you're planting your peanuts, you can actually just leave them right in their shells and plant them directly like this. But I actually like to take them out of their shells and plant them individually, because they seem to pop through the ground a lot faster this way. If you're planting your monkey nuts, well, your peanuts, then you're going to want to plant these about 4 inches apart. I like to kind of just stagger them like a dice of 5. That way I can fit a lot more in a smaller space. Plant your peanuts about 1.5 inches to 2 inches deep, and expect them to take 7 to 18 days before they pop through that soil. If you're planting them whole in these shells, then you're going to want to plant each one of these about 8 inches apart. Peanuts are self-fertile, and although bees can help with the pollination process, it isn't necessary for fertilization. Here's a big tip. Don't stake your peanuts, and I'll tell you why in a second. But first, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications of our weekly videos. And on with the show. The peanut plants have little yellow flowers, and after fertilization and the flower blooms, then it starts to wither, and then it kind of points downward, and the plant also lays over at this stage. And then the ovary develops this peg, and it reaches for the soil, and this is where our peanuts start to develop. The seeds, or the peanuts, will start to develop a pod that's buried under that soil. So you can see why we don't want to stake up our peanut plants, because if we do, we won't get a peanut crop. Peanut plants don't seem to suffer from much at all, so we really don't have to worry about pests and diseases. So you can see why it's a really great crop to grow. Keep your peanut plants moist throughout their growing season, and never oversaturate your peanuts, especially in the last month. If you want to see what mature peanut plants look like and how to harvest, go here, and I'll see you in our next gardening episode. My goodness, bad cat.